Huh.
Well, hey guys, it's been actually about a month since I started hydrating the violin, and I left the sponges and such in the box for a week, and I checked it, and they hadn't even. Well, actually, I checked it in a couple days, and they hadn't really. The sponges, there was still water in the bags and all that stuff. Anyway, so I checked again, in about a week, and still the same thing. I have a humidifier in the box, and after about a week, I pulled the sponges out. The humidity was up to around 80%, and I pulled the sponges out of the box and just kept it closed. And it's had several weeks now to just kind of acclimate in the box without any extra humidity, and it's holding steady at about 55, I think. We'll open this up and take a better look at it, but I just kind of wanted to intro this. We'll take a closer look. Hold on. All right, so here it is. This is a storage, Rubbermaid storage container here. We'll flip that open, and hopefully you'll be able to see. I'll move that on up. Gauge is reading just a fuzz under 55, and this is after it hasn't had any added moisture for 3 weeks. Got all the parts in here, and I'm going to do at this point, and I'm not going to make you guys sit through. You can see there's lots of places where things are loose. I'm going to go around and do a really good inspection of how well everything is attached, and determine whether or not I'm just going to completely separate everything and then re-glue the entire instrument, or if because it's separated here even though it's hanging here and here. So I'm going to do a real close inspection of this thing, and I may just separate everything, and if I do that, well, I'll bring you back in regardless. But I'm going to take some time here and really check it out closely, see what's going to have to come apart, and then proceed to do that. So I'll bring you back. I am doing the inspection on this violin, but I also decided that I need to really do some cleanup before I can do a very thorough inspection, and I'm just realizing that I probably need something a little finer than that, maybe even a razor knife. This is very loose. Yeah, this is that area that we looked at in the initial video. It looked like hornet mud. Anyway, that's what's going to be happening at this point. I've got a lot of area to get to with the brushes, and a little razor knife pointed implements way down in. Something I will point out right now is that these, I'm not a violin builder, so I don't know what this is called, but these joints right here are tight and they look good. There's crud inside of it down in those joints. What I'd like to do is clean that out, and then maybe add some glue inside. Where at the apex where these joints come together. This is actually a pretty ingenious, maybe too strong a word, clever way to assemble these little points here, is because when you glue wood together, straight grain to straight grain is much stronger than end grain. End grain is not strong at all, so I can't give you a definitive, percentage of strength versus, end grain versus flat grain. End grain does not give you any gluing strength whatsoever. But since these are turned, they're bent in such a way that you actually have flat grain coming to flat grain here. So that's actually a pretty clever way to design this. Because I'm thinking that the thing to have done, from day one would be to make a little block that's that shape and glue it into that joint so you have more gluing surface. Of course, that's going to add weight to the instrument and maybe affect the tonality some form. Anyway, I can't see that there would be a great deal of movement happening right here anyway. But I'm going to attempt to clean all that sort of thing up and actually get a good bond together as it was intended originally without any kind of block inside. The joint still looks like it fits when it's pushed back together. There's quite a bit of tension on it. And I know I said I was planning on using hide glue, and that's what I'm going to try. But there's quite a bit of tension on that joint. I don't know if hide glue will hold it without an additional little block in here for more glue surface. But in that regard, I don't know that any glue would hold that. My gut impulse is to clamp that in position and then just wick super glue down in that joint, but I don't want to go there. I want to try to keep this as legit as possible. And oh no, hate mail. Super glue is a very legitimate way to do instrument repair and build. I use it all the time. So having said that, I just think that might be kind of a shortcut in this case, and I wouldn't trust the joint for long. But I have nothing that proves that other than just my gut feeling. So I'm going to continue to clean all this stuff up, continue to do inspecting on it, and I will bring you back in if I start disassembling anything. This piece is definitely going to come out. I've got some loose whatever you call it on one of these things. It's not kerf strip, it's something, but it's the same purpose. I should look that up so I can sound like I'm halfway intelligent when I'm talking about this. I'm resisting the idea of actually pulling it completely apart, because even though there are a lot of loose spots and a lot of places that are definitely coming apart, I'm afraid if I pull it completely apart, then these things are going to want to spring on me, and I'm not going to be able to get it back as nicely as it's already formed. I may be mistaken on that, but I'd rather not risk it. So we'll see what happens. Cleanup continuing. So, picked up some brass bristle brushes, and that's a dull blade. So the toothbrush is not aggressive enough. Tip of the blade isn't convenient enough at weird angles, and I have 3, so I think I may cut one of these in half. Hello? Yeah, that's all. I just cut it out. The lovely and talented Mrs. Nichols. What do you? Okay, and so I figure I can alter these things to make them work for specific tasks here. Now I know I'm going to probably have to cut one off shorter. I'm just going to try it full on though. I may rip one down the center so that I have just a row of bristles so I can get into cracks better, but we're just going to see what happens. And I've just been getting down in all the little tight spots there, and also inside the other half, getting down inside there where you can't get with a fatter brush. And I got to get something that's got a brush on the end of it, or just use my razor knife to get down into these little apexes, the insides of these joints right here. And clean that out. And I'm going to make, I decided I'm going to make little wedges for the inside of these pieces where these joints come together, so that I can pinch them together and glue them, and then add a little basically cleat type block on the inside, just to give it a little extra added glue surface on these. And I'll add them on these too, even though they're still together, as a preventative measure. So I'll bring you back in after a while. I'm going to get my iron out and get the heat up my separator knife and take some pieces off that need to be heated up to take off, and go from there. All right, we're going to heat up this knife a little bit and see if we can. Got one little end here holding this thing up. I don't want to get a whole pot of steam going just to try to separate that, so I'm going to use the hot knife. I'm sure it'll be fine for that. I've got lots of places that the extra strip here is loose. I said I was going to look that up. I still haven't done it. We're going to call it kerfing, or kerf strip, for lack of another word for now. So just going to try to heat that up a bit. That didn't take much. Okay. That's pretty hot. So we got that off of there. I'm debating taking this block out of here as well. but it seems to be adhered rather well to the, no, not really. Oh, well, that didn't take much. This is kind of, this little stiffener right across here, you're not going to be able to see it, I don't think, in the video, but it looks like somebody ran an X-Acto knife along the edge of this thing before I got here. And I wonder if they were trying to take that off. Also has, right down the center of it, has a split, right? You can see my knife is stuck into that. I figured I'd fill that up with glue and just squeeze it together rather than take it off. I'll try to make a new one, but I wonder if that actually cracked through there as well. Now that line I'm seeing there might be this crack on the bottom edge coming out over here. So I have to try to blow some glue in there. Yeah, that crack comes all the way over to here. Alright, well, it was only stuck right in there, so good thing I took it off. Alright, well, I'm going to continue with this kind of thing here. See how far this sprung out of shape, if at all. Looks like it maintained its shape pretty well. So a little tiny bit right there. Shouldn't be an issue. Okay. I have a nice line on the here, providing I don't mess that up when I clean that up. I'll make sure I'm only cleaning on the inside of that edge. So, more of the same. Okay, more of the same.